Hello DJs, Joe Banofsky from JNS Entertainment here in Madison, Connecticut. Welcome to my next installment of just how much crap you could fit in an Odyssey 2U case for an MCX8000 Denon controller. The answer is quite a bit. I've done a couple of these videos before, but I've made a bunch of changes to this case, so I figured I would share some of my ideas. A lot of my inspiration for some of these ideas came from Brian Harris, Harry Gambardella, James DePino, James Ryan, some of the guys I communicate regularly with on Ultimate Mobile DJ Group, DJ Idea Sharing, and DJ DIY. So what we have here obviously is your standard 2U Odyssey case with the MCX8000 controller. Up top I have this MacBook Pro, which I just bought and just switched from my Dell Precision PC, which spec for spec was nearly identical to this brand new MacBook Pro, but I never thought anybody would be able to convert me to Mac. I've now done 3 shows with this MacBook, and I gotta say, as my first Macintosh, I'm now a believer. This thing works far better than my Dell Precision PC, which had 8 cores of i7 processor, 16 gigs of RAM, a 256 gig SSD primary drive, and a 1 terabyte SSD secondary drive with all my music. This one I bought on sale. It was a 2016 leftover on B&H. It was $1,000 off. So I think with the Apple Care, it cost me a little over $3,000, a drop in the bucket for something that's going to make your life easier. That's one show, one wedding for me. So I'm very glad I purchased this. What I have here is a Microsoft Surface touchscreen tablet. This is running Freestyler. Right now I've got a scene with 20 uplights, 4 movers, 4 wash lights, and one of those Chauvet spin and puke things that I rarely ever use. This is going out to my DMX King transmitter, which just drops down below and connects to, a dongle, which drops down below to a transmitter. That's probably the only thing I don't have permanently wired into this case. This is a touchscreen. It does have a keyboard. I don't have the keyboard on it right now because I can just use this pen as a mouse, and I never need to type because everything is controlled with the mouse. So obviously this is the MCX8000 controller with its built-in backup. I'll go over that in a minute. What I have here, this was inspired by Brian Harris. This is a Microsoft boom arm, a Gator Frameworks boom with a Sennheiser 945 mic. It's the blue one. This mic sounds amazing. I love it. It's a little on the pricey side. I think it's around $200, but what an incredible mic. So that just swings out of the way. I'm not so sure I'm in love with that boom. Obviously it obstructs typing, but it does swing right out of the way. It's in here with a quick release stand. All I have to do is hit that button and this whole thing pops out, and this does not obstruct anything. Over here you'll see what appears to be 4 wireless mics. It's not. It's 2 microphones and 2 receivers, so 2 transmitters, 2 receivers. I'll explain what the receivers are in a minute. 2 handheld mics, and obviously my MC mic. Under here is a 4-channel microphone mixer. All 4 mic channels, you only see 3 mics right now, but all 4 mic channels go into this. This is delivering mic level output into microphone 1 on this board. I do not use microphone 2 on this board. I have no need. Under here are 2 wireless microphone receivers. Receiver 1, receiver 2. They're controlled by channel 1 and channel 2 on that board. In my last video, this mic mixer was right here, and this transmitter was up there. After using that all of last season, I didn't like having to come down here to change my mic levels. It made much more sense for it to be there, so I swapped it, and I'll show you how I wired that. It was kind of a pain, but definitely worth it. So I have this panel that I made last week. 2 power outs, 2 audio outs, 2 microphones in representing channels 3 and 4 on that mic mixer. Channels 1 and 2 are these two receivers. I think one is a 500 and one is a 300. So they're good quality mics. The 500 obviously a little bit better. And this is an antenna combiner. It combines the 2 antennas, and it sends them to, there's 1, there's 2. I put my little whips in there. But the reason I used an active microphone combiner rather than a passive is for when I'm doing outdoor festivals and big events where there's going to be an MC with a mic in hand roaming far distances away. Having that active antenna combiner allows me to use remote powered antennas, directional shark fins. You can't do that without that combiner. That provides power to the shark fins. So I'll just take 50-foot BNC cables out of those 2 rather than the whips, and connect those to a tripod or a light stand or something, and put those antennas for that mic transmitter way up in the air. So because I have 2 channels of wireless here, obviously I can use 2 handheld mics. I don't always use 2, in fact I rarely use 2, but it sure is handy to have 2 separate channels of wireless whenever you need it. These are combo mic kits, so I also have the lav packs for them. Obviously you can't have the lavs and the handhelds turned on at the same time, so it's one or the other. So this may seem like overkill to some, but I don't know, maybe a couple of shows a year, more than a couple, maybe 5 or 6 shows a year, I'm actually DJing the ceremony and the reception in the same exact spot. So in other words, somebody's getting married in the banquet room. I know it's not all that common, but it's nice to be able to mic the officiant and the groom, or mic the groom or the officiant and have a handheld for a reader, without having to break out a separate ceremony system. So this also supplies phantom power. So I have these 2 outputs here. I could connect one to a DI box and put a live musician into this rig, and have an extra channel for microphone. So basically I've got 4 channels of wireless here, and I do have 1 extra on my board. So if I needed all 4 of these channels for something going on in the room and still wanted to have my microphone for emceeing, I could plug this microphone into channel 2 on the board, but for right now I keep it here. For those who are unfamiliar with what this Shure microphone mixer is, it's a lot more than just a microphone mixer. It's an automatic gating mixer, meaning you see that green light is on channel 3 right now. If I touch the microphone, that microphone the way I have this configured, that microphone is on, all other microphones are off. It automatically mutes unused microphones. You literally have to talk right into the microphone and it'll make that channel hot instantly. So you can keep all of your mic channels open without worrying about feedback. You won't get it. It will not activate those channels until it senses sound right at that mic. So that's pretty cool. Over here, I have my main power in, and this is just a through power out. Sometimes I'll hook up a little, if a photographer comes over to me and says, hey, you got any extra plugs? The answer is no, I don't. But I have a power strip, like a 6-base power strip with a power con connected to it. So I could just plug a power strip into there, drop it on the floor, and be on my way with extra power plugs. Because my power strip in the back of the case is completely filled. This, many of you probably saw in the last video, this is a little light. I sawed off, I love sacrificing two-space rack panels. I sawed off the edge, the end, like an inch of a two-space rack panel, bent the rack gears flush against the thing, drilled a couple of holes, and I took the dimmer switch and this little light thing and drilled some holes and mounted them into that bracket. And then I just mounted that right to the top of this shelf. How I got rack gears up here, same thing. Drilled a couple of holes. You can see I've reconfigured it a couple of times for those rack gears to get that thing exactly where I wanted it. So basically I have a 1U half rack mount there. That's pretty rock solid. So in order to make this thing functional with everything I have on the board, I had to make a custom snake. Oh, I know, before I take this board out and show you what's underneath. I was going to make a separate video about this. I got some comments in the last thing. What is this? What is an IEM? It stands for in-ear monitor. It's a transmitter. A lot of people use microphones to transmit to remote speakers. I do that too. But in this case, in this particular rig, I have a transmitter built right in to this rig. And yes, you can see my microphones are all in the 600 megahertz band. Those are all going to get swapped out, Ben Stowe. I'll probably be buying a new IEM and at least 4 more channels of EW500 when all the G4 500 stuff comes out. But right now this is working for me, so I haven't had any interference. So that's an IEM. It goes right to this antenna right here. I can put a whip in here, or I can send that out to a shark fin if I'm to an Omni passive aerial antenna if I need to transmit far away. The input from this is the booth out on, you can't really see it, but you'll see it in a minute. The booth out on this board, which is controlled by this volume level right here, is sending a mono signal to that in-ear monitor, which any of you who know what that is, it's for band members, performers, whomever, to hear themselves rather than have stage monitors, but it is sending true 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz full range high quality audio. It's broadcasting that, and it's broadcasting in this case to these two receivers. These are Sennheiser EW300 IEM receivers, and they go to XLRs. So I can take a remote powered speaker and put it in another room. You know, that's, or I mean, if I've got a challenging situation as far as wiring, speaker wires, I can switch this XLR from the booth out to one of the main outs or whatever, and literally transmit to both of my main speakers wirelessly with these. I've done things like this many times. It works flawlessly. These are obviously high quality units. They're not cheap. So highly recommend an investment into an IEM. Many of you maybe have seen from previous videos, this is my custom mic hanger. It's made from a Brainwaves headphone holder that I sort of pieced out and epoxied and screwed it through this double microphone holder here that fits really nicely in the rig. I found a great way to mount it. This thing sits right in that channel. That grabs onto there, and it's really solid. The other half of the Brainwaves, these are Sennheiser HD8s. If anybody's in the market for an amazing pair of DJ headphones, holy crow, these things are awesome. So this is the other half of that Brainwaves thing. Any of you who are nerds like me, who've ever taken a hard drive apart, those magnets inside of hard drives are super duper strong. That just stays on there, and to be honest with you, that has never fallen off. You probably see this Velcro all around the rig. This whole unit sits on a quick lock stand, and this is an idea that I stole from Brian Harris. It's probably the best idea I've ever seen. I have a custom drape that goes around the whole circumference of this thing. So one of the reasons I like that, and I like the way I built this rig out, is because I roll into a room, I drop this thing on a stand, I plug it into the wall, and I'm ready to DJ. I use Run One cables or Siamese Twin, or I don't know, there's a Whirlwind makes them where it's audio on one side, power on the other. So I've got power and audio out. I literally plug this thing in, and no, this 16 gauge cable is not what I use to power it. I use a 12 gauge to power this rig, even though all of the wiring inside of it is 14 gauge. I'm using a heavier gauge to go from the wall to this rig. I'm just in my basement right now, and that's the cable I had. But basically, I plop this down, plug it into a wall, put my computers on top, plug these 2-in-1 cables into here, run them off to the speakers, and I'm done. I mean, I'm playing music in minutes. So yeah, this thing is heavy, but I'm 6'1", 225. I can lift the thing. So before I take this out, there's been a lot of talk lately about the backup functionality of this unit. So right now, it is connected to the PC on channels 1, 2, 3, and 4. So basically, right now, we see Sympathy for the Devil. As soon as I turn this dial, alright, so I'm looking at, alright, so I just loaded that track. There's the waveform. Now I'm playing it. It's playing. So let's just say this computer starts to fritz out. Alright, let's stop that track. This computer freaks out. Something is going wrong. I need to go to backup mode. How do I do that? I switch this from PC to engine. Let me go back. There's PC. There's engine. PC. Engine. Now my computer is shut off. Not off, but it's not the playback source. Okay, here's my dial. If I hit the back button, these are crates that are on this 256 gig USB 3 stick drive. So I want to load something out of a wedding crate title. Let's see, we'll play some Bruno Mars. Waveform is loaded, playing. I'm now playing off that thumb drive rather than this PC, and that was instantly. I want to go back to PC, I'm back to PC, back to engine, back to engine. I want to use engine there, and my PC here. Switch to deck 3, and now I'm playing off of deck 3. So I can be playing off of the computer, or if I go back to deck 1, deck 3, deck 1, and I can do the same thing on the other side. So having this is amazing. Your computer can die, and as fast as you can flip this switch from PC to this stick drive, and you have all of your crates loaded, there you go. I'm DJing off of that with this board only, with literally no PC connected. So this thing is, it's pretty amazing. I love having that. That is the sole reason I bought this board. I don't like having to have two laptops up here. Since I got into DMX lighting, I have to have two, but I don't like having two primary PCs, one for playback, one for backup. I don't need to do that anymore now that I have that built in. So people say, what if your board dies? I'll get into that in a minute because I have backup all over the place. I was a tractor DJ for years, long before I was a Serato DJ. I do have Tractor loaded onto this tablet with probably 100,000 songs, just in some key crates. This obviously has an aux out. I can load Tractor on this computer in an instant, and be using this as a backup playback device through an aux in underneath this board without even using this board. So I'll show you that in a minute. So here's my primary playback. There's my backup playback. This or an iPad can be my secondary backup playback. And yes, I carry an iPod with me too. So now it's time where I'll show you what's under this thing. That's what a lot of people are interested in. I'm going to disconnect the mic, the two main outs, the booth out, the USB, and the power, headphones, microphone. I'm going to pause this for a minute, and then I'm going to put this board aside. Okay, I put the board aside. So here is my underbelly of this rig. I'll go through what's in it. This is my power in and through power. So that's just a loop with 14 gauge. And then this wire goes to the input of this Furman power conditioner. For those of you who are familiar with this Furman power conditioner, it's got two outputs. I have one going to this custom-made cable, which goes to those two power outs under there. So those two, which go out to my speakers, are getting not surge protected, because I don't think this thing does surge protecting, but I really don't care about that. So this is just the RFI and whatever else this Furman power conditioner does. So my speakers are getting conditioned power. This second output right here out of this Furman conditioner is going to this Furman 6-position power strip. So what else do I have in here? Coming out of this power strip is the wall wart for my little light and a whole bunch of plugs for everything else that's in here. The antenna combiner, you only need one power input for that, and that feeds power to the two other microphone kits that are below it. This transmitter for my in-ear monitor receivers has its own wall wart. That is right here. This is the wall wart for my Denon board. I'm using one of those HOSA piggyback things to get two things out of one. This is the power wall wart for my antenna combiner. This is the wall wart for my anti-feedback unit. And you can see this is the snake for this microphone mixer. So coming out of this snake, this is my output to the board. These four are inputs that are going back to this antenna combiner. Two of those go here. You can sort of see them. So those are my microphone inputs 3 and 4 right here, are on this snake channel 3 and 4. And 1 and 2, you can't really see them. There's 1, and somewhere under here buried is there's 2. So this custom snake goes to the back of that microphone mixer. I'll show you that. So here is the back of that microphone mixer. That's the primary output. Those are the 4 inputs from that snake. Okay? So that is an absolute lifesaver. Having those extra microphone channels built into your rig, to me, is incredible. Making custom snakes like this, like if you've watched any of my other videos, not so incredible. It's tedious, it takes a long time, but it's rewarding when you're done and everything comes out nice and neat. Obviously I've got power, and somebody told me that this is the only jack you could plug the power cord into. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I've had this Macintosh for 3 weeks. but I just figured I'd listen to them, and I labeled that power. This is the USB. Excuse me, I bought off of Amazon some USB-C to USB-B connector. Works great. So microphone into the board. This is a little custom snake I made that takes audio out of my board, goes to audio in on this DBX Go rack, which the only feature I use on it is the feedback, and I have it set on level 2. This, I was going to make a custom snake, but I didn't. I just used 2 little XLRs that go to the audio outputs there. These are long enough. You can see some loop there because I didn't always have this DBX Go rack. These have enough length that they can come around and go back into the board if I wanted to bypass that. So those of you who don't know what this thing is, it's really its own mixer. It's got 2 inputs, 2 outputs. These inputs can be line level, or they can be microphone level just with the push of a button, and it's got its own aux input. So if everything in this whole system failed, if my board failed, my backup failed, my second backup, third backup failed, I can take an aux cord, plug it into that, and plug it into my phone, which has, I use an Android phone, and I run Cross DJ on my Android phone, which is great. I've got several hundred songs on the storage in my phone, and this thing can be powered with a 9-volt battery. Right now it's plugged into a wall wart, but I've got a 9-volt battery pack that plugs into that. So this thing, a 9-volt battery, and my phone, so long as my speakers have power, I can DJ if this whole thing went up in smoke. If the DBX goes up in smoke too, then I'm screwed, but I got bigger problems at that point. Everybody's probably running out of the building because there's a fire. So that is the power pack for my Surface tablet. This is the power pack for my Apple. It only came with one of those plug things to plug it into the wall. I just bought a cord and stuck it into the back of that. I know Apple makes it a special one that locks in, but this is Velcroed down. All of my wires are secured. It's not going anywhere. So this is it. This is my big mess of a case. The only, I think I've maxed it out. I don't think I could fit anything else in here. The only thing I'm thinking about doing, oh, one other thing I can share with you, how I mounted this. I took a heavy-duty Shure microphone screw base, and you could probably see that silver there. I took a Sawzall, not a Sawzall, a Dremel, and I sliced it so that I can get this pole literally flush up against the side of the case. So that gives me just the clearance to get my rig in there. This is that button. You just push that in, and this whole thing comes right out. Right now it swivels. I'm considering putting a second one of these right here on this side. And then with a separate boom stand, I bought this, it's made by Ori, whatever. This tablet holder with a pivot base. It comes with 2 sizes of these things, big ones and little ones. I was considering another idea I was going to steal from Brian. He's got some sort of crazy teleprompter program that he runs on his iPad, and that may be the next idea I borrow. So I was considering mounting this thing coming up this way so that the tablet is right here. I'm concerned with how it'll look with all of this crap I have in here. And other than that, the only other change I'm going to make probably today before I... actually, I don't have any shows this weekend. It's Easter weekend. These 2 bulkheads, I'm going to relocate those. The microphone bulkheads, I am going to relocate those to right here. I have the slack in the cable. So basically I'm going to have my antennas coming up here rather than under the shelf. I like having them under the shelf because nobody can see them, but unless I use quarter wave whips, which you're not supposed to do when you're dealing with remote antennas, they're not pointing straight up because the half wave whips are too tall. I don't have the height under that laptop shelf. So I'd rather put my bulkheads here and have my half wave whips coming up there. And that's pretty much it. I'm not sure you can squeeze any more stuff into this case. Primary computer, DMX controller, all of my plugs and stuff. I've got the power conditioning. Everything in this case is either running through running through surge protection and power conditioning. Speakers, like I mentioned, are power conditioning only. Got feedback control. Got separate power supplies that are velcroed into the bottom of the case so they never leave. Of course, like any Boy Scout being prepared, I have another one of these and another one of these in my laptop bag. Those are extras that I bought specifically to be in this case and never leave the case, but I bring the extras with me. I'm sure it's rare, but I'm sure power supplies go bad, so I always have an extra with me. So that is everything. This, I'm not happy with the way this is. I think I'm probably going to redo this panel to look like this panel or similar, where it's 2 rows. I'll have my 2 powers. I'll have my IEM antenna out, and the other output I'll probably do is DMX out. So this dongle I'll probably run through the back of this case somewhere with a short. I don't think I have the length to make it all the way over there, but I'll do a short DMX run, and I'll probably do DMX out right there, right here. So I'll chop this rubber. This was just a quickie job. It looks silly. I wish I didn't do it, but all I did was I drilled a hole through the rubber, ran my antenna cable through the back to go to the back of this IEM, and then I just hot glued this this marker bar down to there so it wouldn't move. Me just knowing that's like that bothers me, so I'll probably make a second custom panel just like that one over here, just adding the DMX out and the antenna out for my in-ear monitor. So that's pretty much it. That wraps it up. I don't think I can, other than doing that separate mount for the other tablet. I'm not sure I can fit anything else in this case. I'm not sure I need to. I think I've got everything I need. This is an all-in-one solution. I don't have to carry a big rack. This is a big rack, but I don't have to carry any external processors or anything, extra mics. Got everything I need. I hope you guys enjoyed the videos. Maybe I gave you some ideas. And thanks to all of you DJs who gave me ideas in building this rig.